It really? I just remembered something funny from school. Oh dear. Oh. Look, there's a moth. Moth to a flame. Well, this flame can't hurt you because it's just... Okay, sorry about that. Why do moths like going near flames? I always wondered that. Oh, wait. Oh, I'm overthinking everything. I'm worried I killed the moth now. Worried. Oh. Oh, I think I'm gonna get my camera and make an evening vlog to try and make sense of how I'm feeling, because I haven't done one in all. I can't remember the last time I did one. I don't know. I don't know. It's just one of these days. I suppose I've been thinking a lot. Most of the time noting and thinking. Feel changes and the changes are scary. You know, the changes are... It's like the old parts of me, like, are just like peeling away, and it's like there's part of me that just wants to just hang on to it because it just feels safe. And that's why there's this anxiety, because this isn't what I'm used to. I'm used to sleeping a lot, like, and sleep was my escape. And now, since I've been meditating more, a lot, maybe even too much, I don't know, it just depends on how you look at it. Too much if I look at it as that I want to be able to go to sleep right now, then too much, but in the sense of just observing and noticing that that maybe there's in time, maybe it will just settle. I'll just get used to it. It's just adapting, and I guess my brain maybe kind of, no, that doesn't sound right. The brain doesn't care. The brain is just the brain. I mean, it does its thing. It has a connection to the mind, definitely. There's a strong connection between mind and brain, but I've noticed that the brain seems to operate totally differently. I'm getting lost in. Come off the ground. This is the problem. I've come off the ground. I know it's just experience, and I've had this before, and there is no other way out other than through. There isn't any way to run anymore. I mean, it's raining. The rain is very soothing. It's actually the thing I love most about living in Stoke-on-Trent, is that it rains all the time. But I mean, it's rains, I guess, all over the UK, but it seems to rain here more than I remember in London was. Maybe it's just I experience it different. Because I'm by myself, I can appreciate it more. I can appreciate it when it starts, when it stops. Whereas when I was in London, I was always like desperate for it to continue and hoped it wouldn't stop. It's just a lot of anxiety. A lot to do with anxiety and not having enough money. I'm trying to use what I've got as best as I can, and it's tough because it's like I want to get that book on Buddhist cosmology. Maybe I'm overthinking this. Maybe there's no harm in just waiting. It's probably just impatient. I'll just wait. I'll get it in the end. Teach me patience, I guess. That's one of the good things about not having much money, I think. In a way, has kind of been good for me because it's forced me to be less greedy in a way, although there's still greed there, but less at least. And I don't know, I'm trying to find the positive. Sometimes it feels there's different elements of the mind that say different things, you know. Committee of the mind, they call it, you know. The therapist tends to bring out the what they consider the authentic voice, but sometimes that's the voice that's just the most angry and the most angry and the most greedy. And they're just festering defilements. I mean, whatever comes up, let it come up. If it's anger, let it be anger. If it's feelings, let it be feelings. If it's fear, let it be fear. Even fear of death is still just fear. It's just a really intense fear, but I suppose it can be labelled as intense fear then. Suppose that's the biggest fear. Which is why I called the ambulance. Which is why I was on the phone to my sister when I did it. because I didn't want to be alone. I didn't want to die alone. Except I would have done. I would have died alone because well, I mean, there's different ways of looking at it. In a sense, where else could you go? And then they said that to, what was it? Maharaj. Sometimes I battle with different teachings in the mind. I feel sometimes that maybe that kind of stuff has its place, and then I feel no, and I think maybe it does have its place depending on how you look at it. As in, in a sense, even when we're gone, we stay with the people that we leave behind. Maybe if you have to ask, you'll never know. You can only know when you no longer have to ask. One thing is for certain. It is all just ceaseless experience. Multiple mind moments a second. Maybe more. It's not possible to catch all of it, but sometimes it seems possible to catch a lot of it. And then I feel like I'm going to disappear. And I get afraid. Sometimes I note the fear. Sometimes it just gets overwhelming. I suppose note the overwhelm as well. It's all delusion because there's nothing to be afraid of. What is there to be afraid of? Why is disappearing so scary? I mean, it's not suicide. Maybe that's why it's scary. Maybe because it's a reminder. Or maybe I'm just trying to replace one type of death with another type of death. No, but that doesn't make any sense. No. This is what I mean about I can end up speaking from a place where I think is what the therapist wants to hear. And I don't even have the therapist anymore. And I'm not sure he was even I'm not even sure he was that helpful. And I still look externally to him because I always used to say, I said to him once, how will I manage, like when I'm worried about when you retire, like how will I, eventually you'll have to retire, like blah, blah, blah. And in the end, I ended therapy with him, probably because that was one of the fears I had. So I a bit maybe borderline in the way where I run before I can be abandoned. It's like fear of abandonment, so I have to run before I can be abandoned. But he said, I could imagine what he would say. Like, that's what he said. Like, I was told by a previous patient that he would imagine, like they would imagine what I would say. I suppose when they reached a point of closure, maybe. But I could imagine what he would say for lots of things, but not everything. You see, I worry that his meditation doesn't have the answer to everything. It can't solve everything. That's what it's teaching you. It's teaching you there is no quick fix. But the therapist also can't solve everything either. And I suppose I still live in this battle, this civil war inside me where it's like the therapist or the therapists, maybe more than one, are battling inside me with a monk. It's like arguments go on in my head between different people that have had conversations, and I think, where am I in all of this? I'm just carrying a load of content. I know it's just experience, but it's exhausting. I suppose this is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing the imagined conversations, the imagined things that I would like to say to someone, even though it's not even liking to say. It's complicated because it's actually an uncomfortable feeling as it's happening. It's actually a very unpleasant state because it's anger based. A lot of these imagined conversations and theories, and I'm thinking, shit, fucking hell, loads of people are doing this. And they're acting out, and I'm one of them, as I just did just there. Very scary to see what's actually going on in the mind. Really scary once you see it. I mean, it's better to see it than not see it. Because imagine going all your life without seeing it. In fact, that's what Philip said to us. I said, I just feel like angry that I've let my trauma dictate my whole life. And I suppose it's because, well, part of the reason for that is because I considered it my trauma and my life. I was so heavily identified with it that it took control for longer than it needed to. Because I was so identified. Because I saw a lot. I could see a lot. But I couldn't see that I was seeing a lot. I couldn't get to that place as a witness. And there was a wanting to impress and wanting to always prove something to someone else. I think this is, meditation is probably one of the first things I'm actually doing for myself. And that in itself feels scary because it's like, I'm going it alone. Everything else was, a lot of it was reactionary. But this, although there's probably a reactionary element in the sense that I'm trying to escape suffering, but I want to escape suffering for me, fundamentally. If I don't escape it, or start to escape it, I can't help anyone else escape it. This is the one thing that other things, being a musician, being an engineer, being a doctor, all of these careers, all of those things, it's easy to convince yourself that you're doing it for you. But there's almost always an element of doing it to please someone else, even if it's just to please your wife and kids, or future wife and kids, let's say, in some people's cases. But that may have been sounded a bit conceited now on reflection. It wasn't something I felt I'd ever have. My mum, as I said, she said, I know he's never going to be normal, get married and have children. And I did get married and have children. Except I had children, then I got married. But ultimately, I fulfilled both. But at the same time, I love my wife and kids. They're just perfect. Or rather, To me, they're perfect. Maybe I'm falling into spiritual bypassing. Am I trying to do too much too fast? I didn't think I would ever love anyone. I didn't even know what love was. I didn't know what happiness was. Maybe love and happiness can still exist within peace. Be at peace with love and happiness. Guess it's this underlying feeling of guilt, feeling of like, oh, I don't deserve to be happy. I don't deserve to be loved. I don't deserve to love. Maybe the key is to allow whatever is to be. Whether it's sadness, frustration, misery, unhappiness, despair, fear, just let it be. That's the hardest thing to do in a way, because it's going against everything I've learned. My whole life I've spent trying to fix things. Fix myself, fix the world, fix the school, fix, just fix everything. Most of the time, but not all the time, caused a lot of destruction. And it seems that I've always ended up destroying everything I've helped. Even when I tried to help, I destroy. In some ways, I'm afraid of what my biggest fear is us doing to our kids. What our parents did to us. Maybe that's why sometimes I want to disappear. In some ways, maybe part of myself is worth cutting down. Part of myself is worth sticking around. Sticking around in the dark, Claw. Climbing around in the dark. I remember once Philip said to me, he said, send him an email with just constant loads of thoughts and everything. He said, Mark, what you've written to me feels like a stream of consciousness, so I'm finding it very difficult to follow. And that's the thing. He works in concepts, not ultimate reality. Well, he said thoughts and feelings are just thoughts and feelings. I said, you're talking about Vipassana? And he said, yeah. But there's far more to Vipassana than just knowing thoughts and feelings. But I was mixing things up, doing things the wrong way round. I was trying to look to a therapist as a meditation teacher. And look to a meditation teacher as a therapist. Get things the wrong way around. Mix up the roles. Just like all the roles have been mixed up in my family. 1 minute, I'm the dad who's got to watch my dad. The next minute, I'm the boy who's got to do what he's told. The next minute, I'm a surrogate husband. The next minute, I'm a younger brother. It's in that moment the roles were where they should be. She was calling me asking for help. And I couldn't help. So I put her in a position that reminded her that she was my older sister. It wasn't her fault. I just didn't want to go without her. I'm sorry.